Hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to Prime Time.
The show for the mature of years but still young and at heart and active.
And here we are again with a couple of guests on the sofa. Here today we've got Nigel and we've got Bob. And they've come to talk a little bit about rambling in the countryside and a national initiative that's going on and being supported by the council. If I start with Bob first, I see from your shirt that you actually work for the council. Could you tell us a little bit about what kind of support is being given here and what the national scheme is?
Yeah, this is the Walking for Health initiative, right. And local authorities tend to manage it locally. Now we've probably had about 5 years of Walking for Health in North Somerset. Right. We've got 9 local groups. As a council, we support volunteers by training them up, just a very short training course. Then they're insured as part of the scheme to lead groups for local walks.
Right. Well, sounds great.
Yeah.
And Nigel is a group leader, I believe, are you?
Indeed.
And where is that?
I work alongside the Healthy Living Centre on the Bourneville.
Yeah.
One of our walking groups initially was set up by our doctor's practice.
Uh-huh.
That was well before the time of North Somerset Council's involvement, but obviously we're more than happy that they've taken up the baton and are running with it now. Our sort of group members needed to get involved in some kind of fitness activity. The initial group was to do with diabetes. I myself have diabetes, and the whole group, which initially was about 15 people, all were sort of doing what the nurse told them to do to sort of try and get a little bit fitter and control the illness they had. So that's how we started off our one group. It was part of a number of issues and projects that were being promoted by the Healthy Living Company,
right.
Under a scheme that had funding for 3 years. And sadly, that scheme, the Positive Wellbeing Project, has finished, but the sort of results of what they did are still sort of alive and kicking. And again, the diabetes group is one of those things, and we're more than happy to sort of promote it because it keeps getting bigger, group-wise, and we keep getting involved in other little projects which help us to help the community as well. One of the things I do is that I'm a volunteer driver.
Uh-huh.
So we take out people from the Carlton Centre in Weston.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They've got lots of sort of difficulties down there, and by a bit, one of the things we need desperately in the area are volunteer drivers.
Okay.
We've got the minibuses. We need the people to get qualified as MIDAS trained drivers, so that the insurances that Bob talked about earlier can. Kick in.
Well, I'm sure we'll post that at the end of the programme, all the details for that, people who might want to volunteer. And I mean, don't be shy about coming forward. I'd just like to talk a little bit about the, presumably you get out into the countryside. I mean, one of the great things about this part of the world is the beautiful countryside and the mendips and all the rest of the stuff all around us. And I assume groups get out into that. Is that what we're talking about?
That's definitely what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Weston itself has got a lot of really good walks.
True.
Whether you go up to the Wilbury Woods or Sound Bay, or even from uphill through to the town centre.
Yeah.
But because we are lucky enough to have the use of a minibus, we can take up to 15 people at a time out on walks, and we go to Cleveland, Burnham, Portishead, or the Mendips, Burrington, Coombe, those kind of areas. And sort of on the health walks that we do, it's only about an hour to an hour and a half walk.
Yeah.
But what's been spawned from that is a Sunday group, which we do once a month at the moment, but those walks are around about 6 or 7 miles. So
wow,
fantastic.
So once they build up stamina, they can go on those.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And it also brings out friendships within the group members. So it's not just one thing you're doing; it's a number of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of people have a kind of image of, rumblers as kind of hardy northern folk, But I think what you're trying to say is anybody can do it. And actually, if you build up your strength and work gently with the groups, you can achieve quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the scheme was set up initially by a GP who recognised that, that there needed to be a very accessible way for people to start to exercise. So it's very much aimed at people often either leading a sedentary lifestyle or people coming back from a long-term health condition. So, they're free, they're led by a group. So, a lot of these barriers around costs and, walking on your own, for example, they're knocked down by this scheme. It's a fantastic scheme. Every group's different. Some groups with lots of volunteers, they do get all over the place around North Somerset. Others are more localised, but there's something for everyone, and we promote them as widely as we can through the libraries, through the local papers.
And are all GP practices now on board in order to promote these for you?
We're trying really hard. It does depend on the practice.
Right.
Some of them are really on board and they promote it, as much as they can to the people they think need it. Others are still, I guess, may not recognise the scheme yet. And the longer it goes on, though, I think the more it's getting recognised.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for coming in.
Fantastic.
Great.
Very good to hear from you.
Thank you. And for people out there, feel encouraged to join. And as I said at the end of the programme, we will be posting details of how to get hold of you and the groups and all the rest of the thing. And in the meantime, if that doesn't quite appeal to you, although I don't see why it shouldn't, we did go and have a go at another form of exercise earlier on.
We did.
Called Tai Chi.
Well, that was our first experience of Tai Chi, and very enjoyable it was too. But now we're going to hear a little bit more about the whole philosophy behind it and how the local groups operate and hopefully are run enthusiastically.
Very enthusiastic.
And I'd like to introduce Tony and Gwyneth. Tony runs a lot of Tai Chi sessions around Weston-super-Mare, and Gwyneth, I gather, is a very active participant.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yes. So, Tony, would you like to tell us something about the whole idea and philosophy of Tai Chi and why it's particularly good for old people?
Tai Chi is a nickname in China. It comes from China. It's called old man's art.
Okay.
In China, the number one sport, especially traditionally, is Kung Fu.
Right.
And for the Chinese people, Kung Fu doesn't necessarily mean fighting, it means art. But with Tai Chi, it literally means fighting. And originally, Tai Chi was for fighting. Luckily, the person who taught me is also a Chinese doctor. And so he's pulled the health benefits side out, taught very much emphasised this. So the classes that I run for what I call over 21s.
People are on this program, yes, exactly.
Very accessible and very safe. So the health side can be taught without necessarily reverting to the martial arts side, which is very good. That's sort of the background of what I do,
And how many classes are you actually running in the area? Is it very popular?
I have about 200 students and about 20 classes a week.
Fantastic.
Some are in homes, so some are in retirement homes and nursing homes. 2 are specifically for Parkinson's, people with Parkinson's, and then the other classes, some are seated, some are standing, some are easier, some are much, much harder, depending on the group that turn up.
Absolutely.
So like Gwyneth here has been with me for 7 years. So starting another 5 years or so, and she's considered almost not a beginner anymore.
So, Gwyneth, what was it that particularly attracted you to the idea of taking up Tai Chi?
I saw an advertisement in the Evening Post offering, come and have a free session on the lake grounds at Porter's Head.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'd seen it on television in front of Points West when they had it there in their red pyjamas, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
Wonderful.
It is such a calming, wonderful thing to do, yes. And I really have benefited it health-wise. But I've got 2 tin hips, which makes things quite tricky at times. Especially I've got 2 knees which need doing as well.
Yes,
but
of course.
Doing it on a daily basis, and I repeat, a daily basis, it starts you off very well, and it gives you the inner strength and the energy to get through some days. It really does.
Fantastic. I always remember being many years ago in Hong Kong, in a hotel, and looking out of my bedroom window at a park first thing in the morning, and there were lots and lots of older people, often in black pyjamas and things, doing exactly these exercises in a graceful and slow way.
It's so ingrained in Chinese culture. For the Chinese, it is similar to us having a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Really?
They like to do some exercise before they have a day. So for a typical Chinese way is get up quite early, go and play some Tai Chi in the park with your friends and feel good for the day. Then go home and have a nice leisurely breakfast with your family and friends, and you do all of this before going out to work. So you have a good day before you start. Really, the idea with Tai Chi is to make yourself feel good at every stage of life. So it doesn't matter what age. My teacher always says the only rule for being able to do Tai Chi is you're still breathing.
That sounds like a very sound philosophy to me.
If you stop breathing, you can't do it anymore.
No, that's good.
Can I ask you just one more question about what you've got on the front of your shirt? Because it says you're part of a research group, and what are you researching?
This is a very big question. So we call it Tai Chi, but my teacher, Master Lam, which is why it's the Lam Association, who's now in America, he has, as well as being a Chinese doctor, he's also studied a number of Chinese cultural arts. If I listed them all, it would be very long. And he's created a system which, for health-wise, is incredibly beneficial. So I've said I help people with Parkinson's and do treatments for individuals. Brilliant. And it includes bone setting and helping nerve damage and all sorts of things. So this is something more specific than just the Tai Chi classes we do. Much wider.
Good.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Could I just sort of add that
Please do.
I had to have an angiogram this year, and as I was going in, the doctor who was going to do it said, would you like me to give you a sedative beforehand just to calm you down? I said, well, actually I've just done an hour's Tai Chi. There's nothing we've got in this hospital which is as good as that.
Wonderful.
You don't need it.
Fantastic endorsement.
That says it all.
It does. And let's hope some of our listeners are going to really take that on board and have a go themselves.
So, as we said with the Ramblers, we will be posting information at the end of this programme on how to get in touch with the Tai Chi groups. And please feel free to come and get involved.
Try.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.